to come on. Here we go. Take the Wrestling Podcast coming to you on March 25th, 2021 with Mike Bernier, Joe Lopez. Folks, what's up?
What's up?
The Fiend, that's what's up.
The Fiend. Looks like Prime Minister Bill.
But wait. No, the real question is, do you guys prefer your Fiend extra crispy, or do you prefer original recipe Fiend?
I prefer my Fiend where we get more Randy Orton wife, like, I'm gonna slap some bitch text messages on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's the Fiend that I prefer.
Yeah. Like fucking Fire Marshal Bill, I swear to God.
And so what we need next Randy Orton feud needs to be against the Godfather. And it just needs to be like 5 weeks of Raw of the Godfather just being like, here's a hoe, here's another hoe, here's Randy Orton's wife beating the Godfather's ass. Like that is how that whole feud just needs to go.
By the way, Joe, interesting backdrop. Where are you right now, Joseph?
I am in New York City in a hotel room that is not as shady as it sounds. I am just here for a few days, and it's not a big hotel room because it is New York City. Mm-hmm. And my significant other is in bed trying to go to sleep, so I'm sitting in the bathroom doing this on the floor.
Take one for the team, buddy.
I refuse to sit on the toilet. That's weird. So my phone is propped up on the toilet.
So for the next 3 weeks, are we going to play Where in the World is Joe Lopez recording this podcast? Because tentatively, next week you should be home.
Next week I will be home. Yes.
Okay.
The following week you might be on a train to me to go to Tampa.
Yes. No, I mean, I will be. That is, I am not flying. There's zero scenario where Joe flies. Joe has been grounded. That's what Joe's decided.
Literally grounded.
Only way Joe flies is if he has to leave there Saturday morning and I meet him in fucking Tampa. And that's not happening.
Look, I've never been a fan of flying. I've always thought it's a little strange that, we as humans are all of a sudden 30,000 feet in the air. That's weird. I watched Lost. I'm not a big flying person. So I've kind of enjoyed the last year of the pandemic where all of a sudden, you weren't flying anywhere. It was the perfect excuse for me to not have to fly. And now we're traveling again. And so I have no excuses. I'm just going to own the fact that I'm chicken shit about flying and try to stay within these continental United States and probably go train most places or bus. Like I took a bus here to New York.
Well, you're probably gonna have to take a flight if we find a pay-per-view to go to.
I will take a train. I will make it work.
All right. Well, you're gonna leave about 5 days before I get there.
I feel like Joe makes that work on a train. Okay. Like he's dedicated to the keeping it grounded.
So the Thursday before WrestleMania, as long as my service works, that's a whole other thing. I realized, I don't know if the phone service is going to be
You should have Wi-Fi.
I should. I agree. I don't know that it will happen.
They'll play by ear.
In theory, I should be recording that Thursday show while on a train. I'm planning on being a little bougie and getting one of those roomettes.
Well, that's a Mania preview show, probably, right? That'd be a Mania preview show.
That's the Mania preview show. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You may have to make some adjustments.
It'll actually be a better setup than sitting in the bathroom, actually, if I'm on a train.
Well, I mean, I guess now's good as time as ever. We have guests on for next week's show, tentatively.
Correct.
Mine and Joe's mutual friends, Jim and Tom. They are friends of ours from the message board, the Looney Bin, that we are avid contributors to. They also play
they go all the way back to the Ring of Honor message boards.
Yep.
Way back.
So 2000s?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got the two of them to come on. I believe they're going to join us for the full show.
like Tom of Jim and Tom, who Mike is talking about. So many guy names. I need like an Ernesto or something. Well, you're Ernest. Like, are you Ernesto?
You need
I had
an
Ernesto
Enrique
in my band.
Right? Like, I need a fucking
Star
circle.
player.
Like Jorge. Anyway,
Yeah.
Jorge Estrada. So,
Right.
anyway, as I was saying, Tom actually was literally at the first Ring of Honor show. Like, the very first event in 2002. He's in that audience of like 200 other people. So, I mean, old school Ring of Honor wrestling fan. And that's certainly how we know each other. And I'm excited to do this next week.
So the two of them will be joining us. For those of you that follow along at home, that means that we're going to have our first ever 4-person Jeopardy contest, because they're going to join us for WrestleMania Jeopardy, which I will be hosting. It'll be Joe versus Ernest versus Tom versus Jim. And I believe we have a watch-along planned for the X7 Austin Rock match, which will be fun to get 5 different people's point of views. So we're excited about that. I'll confirm the details with them off air, obviously. But we're excited to have them aboard, at least one, if not both of them. For the record, I'll remind you guys, bring paper and a pen, because we're going to go with the Jeopardy where you have to write down your final Jeopardy answer and your points.
Okay.
I don't have video, so it's possible.
So that you don't cheat and be like, oh, no, that was my answer too. I wager all of it.
Looking forward to that, man. Looking for that. It's funny, before we get to our topic, because, my topic today was going to be another watch along. I just realized yesterday was the 30th anniversary of the one of my favorite matches of all time, Ultimate Warrior against Macho King Randy Savage retirement match. I'm wearing a shirt, which they got wrong, by the way, for the record. Wrong
First
Mania.
name Macho, last name Man.
Right. But unfortunately, because Joe is on location, he can either stream or record. You can do both.
Can't do both. Not right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this, though, since you bring the match up just like super fast, it's actually one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. It's certainly probably the Ultimate Warrior's best wrestling match. And it goes to show you exactly how amazing Macho Man was, because Ultimate Warrior performs 3 moves in that match.
And Joe performed moves in that.
Sorry, 1 second.
Joe, what'd you do?
You got excited to talk about
I was getting a phone call. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, Ultimate Warrior does all of like 3 moves in that match, and 2 of them are running into the ropes, and the third one is a shoulder tackle. Yeah. So I don't know how Macho Man managed to get a 5-star match out of that.
7 elbow drops.
He did.
Remember? Was it 7 or 5 elbow drops?
It could have been 8. I don't know. But the drama that match had, I adore that match. I also, Macho Man was like low key the original Mr. WrestleMania, like before Shawn Michaels took that title. Because at the end of the day, Macho Man was out there having these great matches. He had a great match with Hogan at 5. He has this great match with Warrior at 7. He has that great match with Flair at 8. I love that match.
Steamboat in 3, and then 4.
The tournament.
DiBiase was a great match too. The
right, okay, well, no, none of those matches were great. I'm sorry, that whole tournament.
I think he's talking about the tournament, not Steamboat and.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the tournament match.
I'm talking about the tournament in 4.
Just specifically
those 4 matches. You said that the DiBiase match was great. It's not a great match.
You think so?
No. Nothing on that show was great.
That may be his worst match of the tournament. The
DiBiase match. Wear and tear, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, you ask a guy to go out there and wrestle 4 times in one night. Yeah, sure, they were all like 7-minute matches, but that's why none of them deserve to be on the list of Savage's best WrestleMania matches, because you can't have an all-time great match that goes 7 minutes. I'm sorry, you just can't. Like, it's not physically possible. You can have a great emotion, but you can't have a great match in 7 minutes.
Actually, here's what I will agree with you. The DiBiase match I think is better than that one is the one on Saturday's main event the month before. Well, actually 2 weeks before that Mania.
Yeah, but they also probably got.
There's literally possibly only one Mania Macho Man match that's worse than all of the ones on 4, and it's probably against Crush.
Yeah.
That's maybe the only one in the conversation for bottom of the barrel.
It's pretty bad.
Is it pretty bad?
It's pretty bad. Yeah, and you were there, for the record.
Yeah.
You were there.
I mean,
That's 10.
It's totally. It was my fault.
Yeah, that was 10. Anyway, so great show today. So we can't do that watch along, which I'll probably do on my podcast down the road. But anyway, we got a couple nice topics. Obviously, we're going to continue our part 3 of the all-time tag team bracket.
It's the brackets, baby.
And then also another thing that we were discussing on the text this week is the 20th anniversary of WCW closing its doors.
Yeah, the 20th anniversary of the last Nitro.
But I want to start with Joe's topic first, because I think it's apropos to say now, coming off of Fastlane. Obviously, Fastlane was an overglorified Raw or SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
But we know the reason why Fastlane even existed was because of what? The cock or Peacock. So, Joe, take it away.
You can't keep saying the cock to a gay guy.
I mean, you can.
You can.
You can.
Not on a wrestling show and expect it to stay wrestling related. That's all I'm saying.
Let's see how that works out for you. But feel free to say it.
We've literally drawn you like a contingency plan of like, don't go this way. If you go this way, somehow go right instead of left. But you somehow keep going to the left.
Don't turn on red.
Right turn on red after stop. Not right turn on red, speed the fuck up, motherfucker. But then somehow you keep speeding up. I don't get it.
Personally, all I'm going to say is I really hope that Austin Theory is in action on night 2 of NXT TakeOver this month, because I really want to see Austin Theory on the cock. Okay, so anyway.
All right.
I figured now that we're a week into the existence of the WWE Network on Peacock, now's as good a time as any for us to sit here and grade it. Let's give so far our opinion on what do you think it is? Because at this point, they've added a bunch of stuff. There's obviously a bunch of stuff that's not yet added. So, like, depending on what you value and what you don't, you might either be really happy or you might be really upset still. We've seen the first streaming event, which for me personally had 0 bumps whatsoever. It worked totally fine. I've seen some people must have had some issues because WWE did say, hey, we'll iron everything out. But
Saturday night's main event.
Okay. I feel your pain, Ernest, right now. So, but here's the thing. Now's a good time for us to look at this and say, okay, a week into this, and we can do this again in like 6 months, we can do this again in a year, we can come back to this. But we've all gotten used to the WWE Network being something very specific. We've now had a week to live with what's going to be, for at least a few months, what we have as the WWE Network. Where do you guys stand on it? How are you feeling? How are you feeling about the cock?
Okay, so
this is Joe Lopez coming at you with the hard questions.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, like, we know that this is a work in progress. They said that they continue adding. They won't have the completion of the library into the new server until August.
Mind you, they had said originally at launch all you were getting were all the WrestleManias.
And that's it. We got more. We've got more to realize. There's more. And it's kind of fascinating since last Thursday. So I check in every day to see something new on there. Like I'm noticing there's new material every day. Like being transferred from the old server. Like, you see, a couple days ago I was shocked to see WCW Hog Wild. one of the Hog Wilds. I can't remember what year it was, but
5 or 96. We
one of the two. It's one of the two. And he had WCW Saturday Night on there, and they're moving. There's definitely progress. I mean, you're moving over 17,000 hours of material into one thing. Fastlane was a success in terms of the streaming service. I opened the show with mobile, then moved the show with my kids on the Roku. Both were great. No glitches, nothing. Couple things that I point out. I wrote a little notepad on my blog on Monday, reviewing the whole show in general. Obviously, I'm sure they'll probably add these things as going forward. Not sure exactly. Nice cut, by the way, Mike. obviously there's things the network has that Peacock currently doesn't have. Like, within each episode, you have the little like table of contents. You can skip ahead. Hopefully, to add that in the future, we'll see. Obviously, when you log on Peacock, one of the things I noticed during the live show is that you weren't able to start from the beginning. You had to start from where the show started.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's something else the network has too. But I'm sure these concerns have already been addressed by many of the wrestling community, because you know how we are. We're all fucking bitches. Come on now. We all complain about we don't get our way. We gotta complain to whoever's on top. That's what we do on Twitter. Come on now. But all in all, I'm impressed with the way things have gone, because remember when they said that it'd be till August before we get all the material, we all fucking freaked out, especially me. You know what I mean? But I'm impressed with the progress so far. The obviously the streaming was great. I'm impressed with that too. And we'll see where it goes.
I gotta say this too, though, and then Mike, I'll let you say your piece. I think it's kind of funny that one of the big complaints is the whole fact that you can't start, as of right now, a pay-per-view from the beginning. And you're right, like you can't do that. And I used to use that feature all the time. I used to come to the pay-per-view at like 8 p.m. and it's like, okay, I want to start from the beginning, whatever, You obviously can't do that now. Now, like this past Sunday for Fastlane, like I made sure I was home by 7 so that I could actually catch it, because I really wanted to watch it that night. And I didn't know what even the replay option would be. But, at the end of the day, like, look, we all grew up with real pay-per-view where, like, 45 minutes into the show, you couldn't order it anymore. You had to wait until 11
We're
p.m.
spoiled.
and get the replay.
We're spoiled.
And even if you did order it late, it's not like you can go back and watch it from the beginning, We grew up with that. Even now, the AEW pay-per-views are the same way. If you start an AEW pay-per-view, like you can't start it at 9 p.m. and watch it from the beginning. You get the preview, the replay doesn't even come on until the next day. Like 9 times out of 10 with the AEW stuff.
Wait, are you sure about that? You can't rewind
Yes.
it? You sure you can't rewind it? I thought
Not live. Not when
Okay.
it's live. And that's the thing, like most things, like Fight TV, I don't think in general, like I don't think you can do that with a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. I don't think you can do that pretty much with any streaming right now that's doing like the live pay-per-views. Mike seems to think I'm wrong about that.
No, I'm actually thinking. I'm actually trying to think if any of them can. That was that face. I was trying to figure out if.
You can't, even New Japan World, you can't. Like a New Japan World
No.
show, when it's live, it's live.
Basically,
again,
it's appointment
you're
television.
lucky if
Be
you
there,
get a
be square.
replay. Huh?
Basically, it's appointment television. Be there, be square.
Yeah, exactly. Which I don't actually think is the worst thing, because let's
No.
be honest, right? Like making appointment television is kind of where it's at. It's the reason why the Super Bowl is one of the most watched things every year. There is no oh, I missed the first 2 hours of the Super Bowl, let me start it now. Like no. You're either in or you're not in, like either you're watching it from the beginning or you're jumping in at a certain point. You're probably not going back and watching it from the start. So I think that one, I think that complaint, we all got spoiled by the fact that the WWE Network allowed us to do that. And I think that's why we're all complaining about the fact that it's gone. But at the end of the day, AEW is the exact same way, and nobody has ever complained about them being that way, other than like possibly amongst friends. Like I could see me having said to Mike at some point, like, oh man, I gotta wait till tomorrow to watch the replay or something. But like I don't see people bitching and moaning about that on the internet ever. So I think it's a little lame that that's one of the big ones that's getting complained about for this.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if it's going to be complained or not. I just.
Oh, it is. No, I'm
No,
telling you.
it definitely is.
Yeah, from
Oh,
what
it's definitely
I've read
a
on
thing.
Reddit and Facebook and like different Facebook groups and stuff, one of the big complaints that people has is exactly that. Like I know you mentioned it. I wasn't saying that you were bitching once, but like that is a big one that people are mad about, which I think is just silly.
The menu is more important to me than anything else. I don't even mind that thing. To be honest with you, it's something I noticed only. But
yeah.
Mike, go ahead, Ben.
All right. So the takeaways that I have is negatives towards the Peacock app so far. I don't like that they have it like, oh, season 1 of the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Like just give me the year.
Yeah.
Just give me the year. Like I don't need season 1, season 2, I don't need that. Because I mean, unless you're gonna do like season 1 and it's all the pay-per-views from that year, then season 2 is going to be all the, like, if you're going to break it down into a folder like that, like, I'm okay with that. But as someone who is doing a deep dive rewatch with Joe, when we have the available time, which has been a little rough right now, it's hard to get to 2003 because A, all of it's not up there on Peacock yet. B, it's like, okay, now I have to go on and research which show's the next show to see if they have the show up. So it becomes a little bit more monotonous and a little bit more work than someone who would just prefer to have it at his fingertips, kind of like we had with the network. So I hope they either fix that by making it all like each year's a season and just kind of going with it, or specifying it where you can break it down into the year. Because
the years
right
matter
now,
more than anything else. The year is the most important thing to have to break it down.
yeah, because the thing right now is season 1 of the Royal Rumble. So now I have to remember what year the first Royal Rumble was,
Right.
and then I got to see. Then I got to see if it's in my lot, like in my time. It's yes, it's 88. I'm not retarded. I'm referencing the fact that
this is for the listeners, Mike. It's for the listeners.
So that's probably the biggest negative I have towards it right now. Second, the obvious, we're gonna edit things that happened and not put them on Peacock, a la the Roddy Piper being a moron and painting himself half black before he faces Bad News Brown at WrestleMania.
Have you seen that already?
I've seen numerous articles that says that is not on Peacock.
Yeah, they've edited it out.
Fuck.
So my thought process here, and listener and friend of the podcast, Craig, mentioned it to me earlier today. He goes, how much of the Attitude Era do you think is going to end up getting cut out? Like, there's going to be DX skits that should be on a Monday Night Raw, like, that you'll remember. Like, them playing strip poker and the grill section where it's like, oh, look at my Johnson. And they pull out, like, a Johnson & Johnson like thing.
Episode.
Oh, it's hilarious. But the way things are right now, could Peacock censor that to the fact that where that doesn't even show up? And now a 2-hour episode of Raw turns into like an hour and like 15 minutes because all the DX segments are gone.
See, now, and here's my thing, right? I don't know. I don't actually know where, and this is part of the problem with the kind of going back and cherry picking what is offensive, what isn't offensive. And like, look, I think we can all agree a lot of it is very tasteless. A lot of it is pretty offensive. Like, pro wrestling, especially in the late 90s, but hell, if you look back at a lot of this shit in the 80s, I mean, Hulk Hogan was the #1 hero out there fucking threatening to punch Sherry in the face half the time. And the audience is sitting there being like, punch her. Just soccer one, good, you know? Like, that is uncomfortable to see. Are they going to take that out? I doubt it. I don't think that they're going to go that far. Are they going to take out things like should they take out Roddy Piper doing blackface and everything? Yeah. Like, I feel like, and I don't know this for sure because I don't know if Roddy Piper ever said anything about it or whatever, but I almost got to think that even he would be like, hey, if I could have that one back, I might take it back, you know? Like, this is a little bit that version of like, hey, we can take it back, let's take it back, you know? My thing with it, though, is if you're going to do it, you do it for the right reasons.
Right.
I.e., something like blackface is inherently very offensive. It's inherently just like, it just shouldn't ever fly. It never should have been okay. It never was okay. And the fact that they got away with it, like, is kind of shocking, you know? Something like DX making sexual jokes to each other and stuff. Is that actually that bad? No.
No,
Honestly,
this shit on The Office, that's part of this is bad. Are you going to tell me?
May
Young
birthing a hand.
Also not offensive, I would argue. Tasteless, but not actually offensive. Here's my thing, right? I've watched pro wrestling my entire life. There have been the whole test angle in 2003, the test angle with Stacy Keibler, where he basically is forcing her to do anything that he wants, sometimes literally pulling her around by the arm and stuff like that. That's offensive. That's the shit that they need to go at and be like, hey, we wish we could have this one back. Like,
right.
we might take this out. Like, or like maybe at least put like before it some kind of like a warning of like, hey, We don't
Right.
condone this. It was like, look, the guy was clearly a bad guy in the storyline. This isn't us condoning this. This is us being like, hey, look, if you do this, you're kind of a
Right.
shitty
I
person.
guess the best thing to know whether or not this could be a trend is look at the Peacock's entire roster of shows and movies and see if you remember if there were offensive things there, quote unquote, that might be taken badly today, and if those things are still there on those platforms, and if it's still there, then I don't see it being a big issue moving forward. Maybe the blackface thing could be something. Luckily, that match sucked anyway.
Right.
Daniels Brown against Roddy Piper was a terrible match anyway. So
no, but that's the thing with stuff like that. Like, if it makes sense to get rid of because like it never should have been there, like then yes, by all means get rid of it. But there's a lot of stuff like, look, okay. It used to drive me crazy when WWE tried to erase Chris Benoit from existence. I know that there are people out there who don't like to watch his matches anymore. They don't like to support him as a professional, as a wrestler, and all of that. I respect that. If you make the decision when he comes up on a show to just hit skip to the next chapter, or apparently if you're watching on Peacock, you don't get that option, so you're just fast forwarding, whatever. That's on you. You're entitled to that, given kind of what happened and everything. I mean, you're entitled to that to anyone. Like, Scott Steiner could show up on the screen and you can be like, I just don't like watching him. I'm going to fast forward. So I get that. It annoyed me when WWE as an entity was like, we're going to just pretend this guy never existed.
just decide for you.
Huh?
You can decide for you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Which honestly, doesn't work. Like, that to me is silly because it's like, all right, but no, he was there. That drove me crazy when
that reminds me of something that.
Don't do that.
That reminds me of something that Mike and I talked about 6 years ago on my podcast about Hulk Hogan. Remember Hogan when the whole thing with Hogan came to a head and they decided to take down all the stuff? And I said, okay, well, I'm okay with taking out his name, whatever, but he's Hulk Hogan. You can't erase someone that literally propelled you to where it's at.
You can't erase 7 years of content.
Right.
I mean, the thing when it comes to Benoit, I'm in the same boat as Joe. Obviously, me and Joe have had a podcast where we've talked a little bit about it, and we've always said, and we've always prefaced it with, we always look at Chris Benoit as two separate people. We look at Chris Benoit, the human being who was an absolute scumbag who did what he did, and he dealt with that situation, and that's on him. But Chris Benoit, the in-ring wrestler, the guy that we watched perform day in and day out for 10, 12 years, kudos to that guy. That guy could go in the ring. Like, simply from a wrestling standpoint, like, I'll watch Chris Benoit until the cows come home because I know what I'm going to get. And it's going to be a 3.5 to 5 star match. And the guy's going to bump his ass off. Yeah. Are some of the moves that happen in those matches, you go, damn, maybe that's one too many chair shots. Damn, maybe that's one too many headbutts. Shit like that. Like, that's the shit that you look at and you go, fuck, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we as fans shouldn't have been as happy as Benoit doing diving headbutts as one of his finishing maneuvers. He kept doing it because fans kept popping for it. I mean, let's be real. So, like, maybe that's where, like, I look at it from a fan perspective. Maybe I should have popped more for him doing the crossface. Maybe I should have popped more for him doing the sharpshooter. Maybe he would have went to those things and right. Saved his head, saved his brain from all that bullshit. Chris Benoit, the human being, I don't want to talk about because I have nothing nice to say about Chris Benoit, the human being. And that's why me and Joe have always had that approach. It's always been, if I'm talking about Benoit, it's about what he's done inside that squared circle. Like, I'm not talking about Chris Benoit, the human being, because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. There's nothing healthy that's going to come down having a show and going down that rabbit hole.
Agreed.
It sucked. It's and someone like me who Benoit was one of the first real professional wrestlers, and wrestlers is the key word there that I sunk my teeth into. Watched him in Japan, watched him in WCW, ECW, put on wrestling matches, not street fights, not what he could have a 5-star match and never have a weapon in the ring. Benoit was one of the first ones that I really claimed was my guy. It's Bryan now, it's guys like that. Benoit was the first one that I really sunk my teeth into and like explored his career and saw the things that he did, and when I was actually traveling for my high school graduation present when I found out that everything happened, and I was devastated. I was like, there's no way that it was anything more than a robbery gone wrong or something like that. Because the first thing that went through my head was the Sean Taylor incident. When Sean,
the same year. Yeah.
When Sean passed, they broke in, he got shot, hit the artery, the shit like that's unfixable, So my immediate assumption was, okay, robbery gone wrong. Had to be. There was no way Chris would do that to Nancy and Daniel and all that. And I think I was more gutted to find out what actually happened. And I think I got so angry. And I think that's the thing that canceling Benoit, they canceled him because they were doing that 24/7 thing and this, that, and the other. They didn't really they didn't have the network yet up or anything like that.
No.
So it was easy to kind of push him to the side.
Yeah.
But you can't cancel him because he was an integral part of your of what you were doing for a long time. And it sucks. It sucks that it happened. Chris Benoit is kind of a dick. But Chris Benoit in ring is still a guy that I love watching, and I still watch him to this day. If we're watching something and he comes on, I'm not fast forwarding it because I think it's more I watch it so that I don't overly root for something that may cause someone to go down that same route.
Right.
It's almost like awareness to me. This caused potentially some. It's not fully what caused it, but it heightened what happened. I think it's the awareness thing for me is more where I'm at.
Yeah.
I just think for me, when it comes to them though, taking stuff off, editing stuff out on, on the new version of the network. Like I said, honestly, there's certain things where it's this makes sense. Them editing out Vince McMahon using the N-word. Again, don't you kind of wish that they probably had that one back?
Leap
I'm
it
sure
out.
they kind of regret doing that to begin
Just leap
with.
it out.
So, yeah. I don't think anyone's going to be mad at that. If
No.
they suddenly turned around and were like, hey, we're erasing Jimmy Snuka from existence, I think we have a right to have a problem with that. But if they're going to be like, look, we don't want the 60-something-year-old white man saying this very offensive word on our platform, you know what? You shouldn't want that. I am with you. Fucking
Yep.
yes, no, make that change. If you guys have anything left to say on this, feel free. I'm going to go get a phone charger, and then I will be right back.
Everything you said is correct. I have the same view. What's funny is that 2007 when that whole thing happened, I was at that point started not watching wrestling, but I remember being completely fucking shocked. I remember my biggest memory of that too, especially is watching Bret Hart on CNN with Larry King talking about it, and I remember thinking to myself, "Ooh, this could be the end of pro wrestling as we know it." I mean, that was the discussion around all that at the time.
Well, the mindset I had was if Owen wasn't the thing that killed pro wrestling, this was gonna be the thing that killed it. What was kind of what I said, which again, shitty to think, but as a wrestling fan, and the way that the world saw professional wrestling in 2007, it was one of those things where we literally saw the company.
Dude,
we saw a company basically almost kill a guy in the shit that happened with Owen. And it's we got through that. So it's if we got through that, I didn't think Benoit would be the final nail in the coffin.
Right.
But I was one that I was this could lead to wrestling being something that gets ranked as poorly as hockey in North America.
Right.
Fans watch it, but you got to be a fucking diehard fan to watch it, or you got to be betting on it. I don't see you're not going to get 35,000 new people to subscribe to this streaming platform.
You don't see a growing audience, in other words, too.
No, and that's the thing, and that's what I told myself, and I was I try to keep reminding myself, I'm they found a way, and this really sucks to say it like this, they found a way to get through Owen. And it sucks because Owen was so unnecessary. And I think that's the thing that I just keep going back to is like, I want Vince to come out and be like, that was fucking unnecessary. And like, that's on me. Like, that's on me as a owner, as a booker, as like, this is something that didn't need to fucking happen. Like, that's the thing that I've always wanted. And it's not that Martha's already gotten her money from the lawsuit. She's not suing anymore. She's never letting Owen go in the Hall of Fame. He's never going to get what he fucking deserves because that guy deserves to be remembered by all of us. And I think that this is one of those moments where, like with Peacock and the realization of everything going on, Hall of Fame's coming up in a couple of days. You know, Batista's not in it because he wants to be there in front of a live audience. They're putting guys in like Kane and stuff like that. And I'm one of the biggest Kane fans in the world.
You okay tonight?
But at the end of the day, I don't care what Vince has to do. I don't care how much money Vince has to pay. I don't care if Vince has got to fucking tell Martha that he'll pay her fucking for the rest of her life. Gotta find a way to put Owen in the fucking Hall of Fame. The guy fucking deserves it.
I agree.
I know it'll never fucking happen. I know it'll never happen.
It's not gonna happen until Martha is no longer with us.
Right.
No.
And honestly, if I'm being honest,
you're robotic.
I respect her for that.
Joe, you're robotic.
You're very robotic right now, buddy. It's part of your Wi-Fi.
You're very slow and lethargic.
Very
Joe.
slow and lethargic in the...
No, I obviously
he looks high.
He looks like he's frozen.
Are you frozen, Joe? Oh my God, you look like a fucking hologram right now. Okay.
Overall,
probably... Go ahead.
Overall, I'll give Peacock a B- right now. I think the little tweaks here or there. But my grade is obviously withstanding what they're going to edit, what they're going to take in and out and stuff like that. So I'll leave my grade as that. Joe dropped the call, so we'll see if he gets back in. But yeah, we'll just share chatter until Joe returns.
We get next topic because I'm sure we'll just jump into it soon as he.
Well, oh yeah, that was Joe's topic. I thought the next topic was Joe's. No, yours.
Well, technically, the next topic is my topic that Joe let me borrow.
Oh, you fucking me right now! God damn it!
What happened now? Gamble.
Yeah, I had the Tampa Bay Lightning as the last leg of something.
Stop betting hockey, fucker.
Sorry that Tampa Bay was playing Dallas on the road. What the fuck you want from me, you fuck?
Well, the next topic, and I'm sure Joe will jump in a little bit, is this week. This is my topic, actually. Let's see Joe's topic. I just found out, and thanks to Joe. Was it today or tomorrow? The 26th of March, right? I believe.
I believe it was March 26th. Hold on, let me look at my iPad.
Well, anyway, whatever it is, and Joe's back. Tomorrow, I think, is the 20th anniversary of WCW closing its doors. 2001, where Shane McMahon came out to was it Daytona? You remember that?
Was it Daytona or was it Jacksonville?
One of the two. It was definitely in Florida. Anyway, WCW this week closed its doors. So
March 26, 2001 was the final.
I was right. See? I was right. It's tomorrow, the anniversary. And, I'm glad Joe broke us up because, WCW, like...
Panama City Beach, Florida.
There we go. Definitely in Florida. We know that. I just want to reflect...
All of Adam Cole!
Holy shit, you're loud. Baby.
I'm always loud.
We were way loud that one for a second. I don't know why.
That one sounded like you were like holding the phone up to your.
No, I guess we just want to reflect on WCW and its history and all that because and Joe, you said today earlier in the text, and I finished a book actually about 2 months ago on Death of WCW, by Bryan Alvarez and some other people who wrote the book, and just so WCW, especially those final years. Is so fucking fascinating because everybody thinks that Vince beat WCW, And then that's not the case. Yeah, sure, WWE improved the product as the years went on, but WCW beat
For
WCW.
the record, I don't think any fan think that Vince beat WCW. I think that Vince thinks that Vince beat WCW. I think that the narrative that the winners get to write the history, as they say,
Right.
and the narrative that WWE likes to spin is that they beat WCW. Anyone who doesn't only know their version of the story, anyone who's like read the death of WCW or right, exactly.
I don't know if he knows the signal for a robot.
I don't know if he does either, but that was too good to pass up.
Joe, do another reset. Do another reset, Joe.
Reset. I'm trying to reset.
I'm gonna remove him the call. I'll remove him. I'll mute him.
I'm trying to reset my Joe Lopez.
Okay.
This video is going to be great to go back and watch tomorrow.
It's okay. I can on the call. He'll come back.
All right. So,
go ahead.
20 years ago, the death of WCW official. Vince is the one that loves to say that he beat WCW, when in reality it was WCW that beat WCW. Right. Ted Turner gave too much guaranteed money to aging talent, didn't prioritize building up his roster with younger, more hungry talent. And I think that's the big thing that you have to remember here. DDP, older guy whenever he started wrestling. Nash, big contract as he got older. Hall, big contract as he got older. Hogan, obviously, big contract. Savage, big contract. Sting was getting older. He got a big contract. So the way I look at it is what killed them also was the really bad deal that they had with AOL, the merger that really killed Turner and their financial strategy. I think a lot of it had to do with AOL didn't want anything to do with wrestling. And Turner got sick and tired of having to shell out guaranteed money for these aging talents. I think he would have been smarter to keep guys like Benoit and Jericho and Saturn and those guys under contract for longer and not letting them jump to WWE because you got to pay Scott Hall this much money. You got to pay Kevin Nash this much money. You got to pay these guys this much money. Like, that's probably primarily reason number one I think they failed, and primary reason number two that they failed. They stopped using logic when it came to booking, and they let guys book themselves however they wanted. They gave Hogan creative control. They gave Nash creative control. Hell, they gave Kevin Nash the fucking book.
Let me ask you a question, Mike, on that same topic. When do you think that happened? When do you? What point? What was the demarcation point of when that happened? You believe they lost their way? Because I have an idea.
I mean, it had to be shortly after.
Like what feud?
I would probably say when the Wolfpack kind of became their own thing. I think that's when they kind of were like, wow, we have like 97 people in the NWO. Like, we really have to do something. And rather than using logic with it, they were like, you know what? Fuck it. We'll just put the young guys in one, and we'll leave Hogan with all the middle card guys because Hogan's a big enough draw on his own.
Right.
The problem is when the second and third like biggest draw in the black and white was Buff Bagwell and Scott Norton, I think that's a problem. Like, how do you ever, and you guys can answer this question after I finish. You built Sting for 8 million years to be the WCW guy and to be anti-NWO and to, I'm going to rip cord down and beat everybody with a baseball bat. How the fuck do you let him paint his face like a tomato and join the NWO Wolfpack? He should have been the guy that never joined the NWO.
Agreed.
But the problem was you have NWO black and white, and what is Sting wearing? Black and white with black and white face paint. What are we doing, guys?
I agree.
I get him being the Crow and being the outsider and not not being that, but he's wearing the same colors as the guys who he's feuding with.
Yep. To me, I dropped off after Wolfpack because number one, I don't know how you guys feel about that. I think Joe made a mention a couple of months, a long time ago. I hated the Wolfpack angle. Hated it from the word go. I was NWO Hollywood. In fact,
Of course you were. Of course you were, Hogan.
Yeah. So, Joe, go ahead. Please work.
I don't think
I
it's
wonder
working.
if we should just do audio only with him.
I don't know.
I don't know. To our listeners on the podcast, we're having little issues with our friend Joe Lopez. He's actually holed up in a hotel right now, and I guess his Wi-Fi is kind of fucked up. So, me and talk about it again.
Yeah, I mean he's
oh shit.
Well, I mean, we knew that it would only work for an extended period of time, and then it would boot him anyways.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously I enjoyed the Wolfpack because I was like, oh look, they're gonna go against Hogan, and then I realized that Hogan had like nobody reputable with him, and I was just like, this is dumb.
Horse. Well, what's on a horse?
Dude, when okay, like I said, when the second and third most over act in your stable is like Buff Bagwell and Scott Flash Norton, like I'm sorry, I don't give like it doesn't matter. Like if you would have left Nash with Hogan or Hall with Hogan and made it like Nash and Luger and whatever, fine. But first off, Sting should have never joined the NWO. Second off, how do you let him paint his face like a fucking tomato? Third, like you like the real issue here, and it was a flaw that WCW had from the very beginning. And beginning, I mean like 94, 95, 96.
Correct.
They let guys who were wrestling in the company book the company. Like Kevin Sullivan being fucking head booker and the whole Brian Pillman, I respect you booker man thing, and I quit in the strap match. Like, how are you letting the guy who's running the company be the guy who's letting like in a major storyline? Like, I don't get it. Like, when Dusty took the book over, he was done in ring, and he never really pushed Dustin, which is surprising to me because I thought that would have made perfect sense. Push Dustin, let him win the TV title, let him win the US title, let him have big feuds. No, instead he decided to go wear drag on WWE and become probably one of the most over that he was ever in his entire career as Goldust. So like that's the thing that it's frustrating to me that WCW could have fixed themselves by get a booking committee in there and don't let it be guys who are wrestling on the everyday roster. Like it shouldn't have been like that. Number two, stop giving away all the guaranteed money. They gave away too much of it too fast. Joe Lopez just texted us. I'm on Wi-Fi now. If you want to try, I don't know. Maybe we should start this over.
I think I'm going to call real quick.
Okay.
Give me a sec. We keep talking.
Yeah, no, I just don't think that I'm like it's frustrating. I guess that's the thing is that it was so fixable, and rather than fixing it, they kind of half-assed it, and like that's the thing that's it's frustrating to me because like they could have fixed a lot of things within it. Oh, do we have Joe?
Yeah, Joe. I think my man.
Oh, there he is. There's his beautiful. There's the beard.
I mean, let's see if it works.
I mean, you didn't freeze 12 seconds into being on the call, so I think you have to be ahead of where you've been at.
Okay.
Quick synopsis points so that you can hit on it just in case you freeze. I said flaw number one was Sting joining the NWO. I really felt like WCW died whenever they did the whole Wolfpack NWO feud. I think that was okay, we're really just murking this up just to sell merchandise, and I think that really kind of put a damper on things. And third, what I said was something that they could have fixed from the very beginning, was not having everyday members of the roster be the booker. Kevin Sullivan, Kevin Nash.
Oh, yeah.
Because I felt like it wasn't that they were just booking them, like they were booking themselves in big things. Like, why are we having Kevin Nash in a middle of a world title picture while he's the booker? Why are we having Kevin Sullivan versus Brian Pillman? I respect you, Booker man strap match.
Why is
that honestly
streak stupid?
To me, I think that all of it could have been picked up, like all of it, like you're nose diving, but you could have set the course right until you beat Goldberg. And the funny thing is, like, you nailed it too, because who beat Goldberg? Kevin Nash. While he was the booker, he booked himself to beat the most well-built guy in probably the like other than Steve Austin. You know what? You can't even say other than Steve Austin. Just if you're looking at people built from scratch, turned into main eventers, there was nobody besides Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg just set the mold for that. And the guy who was booking the company at the time booked himself in the most ridiculous way possible to be the first guy to beat this man. That was it. That killed it. Right there, that was the moment, in my opinion, creatively. Like we all know, the actual moment that killed it was the AOL Time Warner merger.
Right.
That was the actual thing that killed it. I know I heard Mike say that before. That was the actual thing that killed it, because at the end of the day, and I feel like TNA has proven this for at least, I don't even think they're proving it right now, but there was at least a 6-year period in the mid 2010s where they were proving this. A wrestling company can stay in business as long as someone is out there who's willing to pour money into it. It doesn't need to be successful. It doesn't need to have fans. It doesn't need to be making any kind of profit. If the owner is willing to still pour money into it, and if there's some sort of network or streaming service or someone that's willing to show it, which usually has more to do with relationships than it has to do with anything else, if that all exists, and these days with YouTube, like the NWA has proven, you don't even need a partner. You just go off and do your own thing. It's the whole reason why AEW has 14 different shows instead of just like one on TNT, you know? So at the end of the day, like, anyone can have a wrestling, like a wrestling company can stay alive until it doesn't have things like someone pouring money into it or a platform to be shown on. So what killed WCW was the AOL Time Warner merger, and the fact that as soon as Ted Turner no longer was in charge, the people who were in charge couldn't wait to get rid of wrestling. That's what killed it. But creatively speaking, I'm putting it all on the moment that Goldberg lost.
You know what fucks me more than anything else, the whole WCW thing?
Me.
Is that in 1998, freeze frame 1998, and look at both rosters of both the WWE and WCW. WCW had by far more talent, top to bottom. We're talking about like Eddie Guerrero. We're talking about Chris Jericho still there. We're talking about guys that were not utilized because of the booking. Because to me, WWE at that point, and even for a couple of years into Attitude Era, which is why we always say it's overrated, was mostly top heavy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? WCW was not like a talent. It was just bad booking and bad decision making, and ultimately, you know, you had the AOL merger, of course, that did the thing. So that's what bothers me.
So I actually feel like it had the opposite problem. Instead of a lack of talent, there was maybe too much talent. And this is the same problem that I feel like AEW has right now.
You're gonna say that.
To a certain degree, I think even WWE, but WWE manages it a little bit better because they have their 3 separate brands, right. So there's kind of more opportunity. AEW's got like 85 people on their roster signed right now, and about 12 of them show up on Dynamite every week. Like, that's a problem. And it's a problem because there's so many guys that I could sit here and be like, that guy deserves a push. That guy should be working one of the main programs.
Right.
That guy should be on TV every week. And they're not, because there's not enough room for them. Like, that's just it. And, like, yeah, it's great that you have these guys who can cycle in and out. If someone gets injured, it's like, okay, you have a great backup ready. That's awesome. Except if you're a fan of that guy, he's sitting on the bench. So, like, what good is that? You know? Like, honestly, like, I want Jungle Boy to be one of the main stars of the company. He's not getting that opportunity anytime soon. And it's not because he doesn't have the talent. It's because Where? Like, where is he getting this opportunity? Where is there room for him?
Yeah. On Joe's point of too much talent versus not enough talent, all that thing. I think the key for WWE in '98 was they figured out what started working.
Yeah.
It was Austin, it was DX, it was Undertaker, it was Kane.
Foley.
Okay, so if those are going to work, let's give the fans what they want, which are those guys multiple times a night, multiple segments a night. They did what they needed to keep themselves in business. Then Vince did something that Turner never was able to do. And I can't say Turner per se, but WCW front office. Vince started to see Shawn was wearing out. Austin was wearing out. So what do? We got to get the next big stars. You develop Triple H. You develop The Rock. You went out and you got Eddie Guerrero. You went and got Chris Jericho. You found Kurt Angle. You found the guys that you were going to go into the 2000s with. And a lot of them you found right underneath Ted Turner's nose.
Oh yeah, yep.
Because you were willing to give somebody a little bit more guaranteed upfront money, where Ted was having to pay all those guys all those older guys the big money at the back end of their careers. That was something that WCW never did. They never developed the young star well. It was always, well, we got this guy from WWE. He was pretty good there. I think we should pay him some money. Teddy's 39 with a broken shoulder. Yeah, he might be able to not do some elbow drops, but he could probably throw a suplex. No, you have to use your arm for that too. Fuck it, we'll find out something for him. Let's just give him a big contract. He's a big name. No, it doesn't work that way. Like that, it started to become, I don't want to watch 57-year-old Hulk Hogan versus 48-year-old Ultimate Warrior in a fucking redo of fucking WrestleMania fucking ever. Like, I don't want to watch it ever again. But it was what they were trying to put on TV every week. Now, here's the thing. Goldberg was inevitably going to have to lose. He should have lost to a younger talent that you were putting over as the next guy, so that Goldberg could have had someone, even if he lost to somebody respectable or in a respectable way, that Goldberg could have at the end of the match gave him a fist bump and then was like, "We'll do this again some other time." Like, that would have made more sense than a taser from Scott Hall, who was actually feuding with Kevin Nash, but now they're still friends again. Because, it's really weird in WCW. We're friends one day, we're enemies the next, and then we're friends again 3 days later. WCW booking fucking makes my head hurt.
I'm telling you, man.
So, I guess the thing that I always go back to when it's all said and done, the thing that I always come back to with WCW was they were unable to develop the next tier. You had the old WCW, the old WWE guys, Hogan, Savage, Flair, Sting wasn't a WWE guy, obviously, until after. But you had the older guard that was still in a dominating position because they didn't want to give up the book, or they didn't want to give up the money, or they didn't want to give up anything else. Sometimes you got to take them out behind the shed and you got to shoot them in the head and you just got to fucking let them go. Like, I get it. Like, oh, we need to sign Flair so he doesn't go to WWE. You're really that scared of 59-year-old Ric Flair? Because his contract you could have paid for Eddie and Jericho and Saturn and Malenko, and you could have kept 7 guys that you let go with his one contract. You could have made the second tier. You could have kept the Cruiserweight division the best thing in professional wrestling. And you could have built the Cruiserweight division. Hell, you could have made the Monday show the old guard, Monday Nitro, the NWO Monday Nitro, where they feud with WCW. You give me Thursday Night Thunder, and it's all the cruiserweights, or the tag team division and the cruiserweights. Sold. And I think that they were going a route similar to that whenever the Fusion Media Group tried to buy it. And then the shit with Bischoff hit the fan, and they were unable to buy it. And then, Vince swooped in and technically gets the win, but I don't think that we can give him the win over WCW. I think we have to give the loss to the merger with AOL.
Right.
I just think that's what it comes back to, is that was a bad merger, and that merger killed any extra monetary money that could have went into WCW.
Right. All right.
So wait.
But
you guys, did you watch the last Nitro live?
No. I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember they did the whole. They were showing it on Raw. Yeah,
Were
I did
you
watch
watching
that.
Raw?
Yes. Yeah, I can't remember, to be honest with you.
I remember. I'm pretty sure I watched Nitro while Nitro was on, and I wasn't a WCW fan. I know I've said that many times on here. I was a WWF fan. I was a Raw every Monday night person. I didn't even bother flicking the channel. I mean, like, yeah, when the NWO was first a thing, and when Sting was, like '97, I was flipping back and forth. But by '98, '99, I hated Goldberg back then and stuff. So I was good on that.
I did.
I watched the last Nitro though because it felt historic.
I did attend a WCW show though in Miami. I think either '99 or 2000, and Hogan was back to red and yellow at that time.
Okay, that's cool actually.
And if you didn't follow the business in tooth and nail back then, you can tell there was something going on because the crowd was very small. There was no energy in that place.
Right.
You can tell that things were definitely the same as they were in '97, '96, and even the first part of '98. So, yeah. Like I said, WCW is an interesting topic. I'm sure on this podcast through the years we're going to be keep touching upon it because it's intriguing. 20 years later, how to me it goes back to me for the talent. They had the talent to do it. Oh my God, had the talent to do it. And you look up in hindsight, like who came through there, then go to Vince and then become legends in WWE. Jericho, Guerrero, you name it. You know what I mean? It's a really sad thing, but it's also a lesson to be learned, hopefully. So
one day I'm gonna make my topic book WCW as if WWE didn't buy it for the rest of that year.
Which year would you start it at?
No, I would go like that purchase never happened, and you're picking up with the champions that going into that last night of Nitro.
That's a good one.
That might be it.
To me,
summer.
See, to me,
that's one. Go ahead.
To me, I think that the more fascinating what if WCW never went out of business, if Bischoff's company was able to buy it and it continued, the most fascinating what if to me isn't so much the what would have happened to the guys that were already there, because I think it's a safe bet. Scott Steiner would have continued on, Booker T would have continued on. Maybe some of the legends come back. Maybe some of them still end up going to WWE at the end of their Turner deals because they might have still sat out. They might have still been like, "Hey, sorry, Eric, but my contract isn't part of what you're buying. I'm sitting at home until my contract's up, and then give me a call. Vince is gonna give me a call too, and we'll negotiate." Maybe we could have seen some kind of crazy bidding wars over Goldberg and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan in the year 2002 and 2003 and stuff. And who knows where they would have gone. But I think what's also interesting is you have an entire generation of wrestlers, your Batistas, your John Cenas, your Randy Ortons, your Carlitos, your Mr. Kennedys, all those guys from the mid 2000s, from 2002, 2003 and forward, who only had one place to go. It was WWE or bust. You either made it in WWE or you were working in the Hammerstein Ballroom at best for Ring of Honor.
Or ROH.
Right, which don't get me wrong, I was a fan. I loved that. But if you wanted to be successful, even today now, at least you have AEW as another option to be signed with. Back then, you had, these two options. So I think it would have been interesting if WCW had continued. Would that have affected where some of the people who kind of came up during that time where there were no options, there was only WWE, could that have affected them in different ways? And could we have seen some of them become bigger stars? Carlito didn't work out in WWE. But if WCW still existed, might he have showed up one night on Nitro and gone on to become the biggest star in the company? If you told me yes, I don't know that I would say that I think you're crazy. And it's interesting to think of that, Would Randy Orton be on year 37 of his WWE career, or would he have gone to WCW and become a legend there? I feel the cream rises to the top. I feel like guys like that would have still made it somewhere. it just might have been interesting if they had more options on the where.
All right, let's do it. Last one of the night. Tag team bracket part 3.
All right, we are halfway through the bracket. I've decided tonight we are going to finish the first round. We have 8 matchups that we need to go over. So we're not going to hold back any punches. We're going to get right into it. The North bracket, the 116 matchup. Excuse me. The 1 seed is Booker T and Stevie Ray, Harlem Heat. They are paired up against Money Inc. They won a play-in game. Erwin R. Shyster and Ted DiBiase. For those of you that don't know, IRS and DiBiase were 3-time WWE Tag Team Champions for a total of 411 days, whereas Harlem Heat were 10-time champions in WCW for a total of 470 days. I think this one, on paper, could be a lot closer if you started to look into things. I mean, obviously, my vote is going to be for Booker and Stevie. I think they were the longer duration as a tag team, obviously. Shyster and DiBiase got together towards the end of Ted's in-ring career for WWE. But this is a lot closer than I think people actually think it is because of the title run that IRS and DiBiase had in WWE. Let's see. Let me go back to their little tab here. The 411 days. The second reign they had was the 244-day reign. They defeated the Natural Disasters at Wrestle Challenge to get the titles. And they had 12 successful title defenses before losing the titles to the Steiner brothers. So, I mean, I think this is a lot closer than people will say it is, but that's me.
Seems like the Harlem Heat tag team title reigns were like hot potato, pretty much. 400 plus days and 10 titles.
Well, let's look at it. 164 the first time, 28 the second, a day the third.
It's like that's the era.
117 the fourth time, 30 days the fifth time, 58, 26, 9, 36 in their final reign with 1 day.
Hot potato. That said,
I don't know why I necessarily say hot potato, but I would definitely say that they didn't have the long withstanding reign.
Didn't have the demolition reign.
Can I just say something? I'm voting for Money Inc. Ha, Ernest, it's on you.
Oh, well, like I said, I do agree with Mike. It's a lot closer than people give it credit for. For me, the tiebreaker is more so longevity. Money Inc. only that's 2 years, if that. So I'll give Harlem Heat. 92 to 93, and maybe 94. That's it.
Yeah. So, I just really liked them as a kid.
I did too.
Yeah.
And I love DiBiase, obviously. I'm a big DiBiase guy. So, but I gotta go Harlem Heat though, because longevity.
Yeah, fair.
All right, so that means that Harlem Heat is moving on. Let me bring up the next. Nope, didn't want to do that. The next matchup is going to be the Rock and Roll Express. They are the 8th seed in the North bracket, taking on the current SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode.
I mean, this should be easy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but literally one of the most legendary tag teams of all time, and then the Rock and Roll Express. I don't know how you expect me to pick between those two. That is hard. No, I'm gonna take the Rock and Roll Express because literally one of the most legendary tag teams of all time. I like Ziggler and Roode together, but at the end of the day, I think in 20 years, when Mike and I are on a podcast randomly watching pay-per-views from 2021, we're gonna be like, oh shit, did you remember that Roode and Ziggler were a tag team?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the reality, and you'll never say that about the Rock and Roll Express. And I wasn't even an NWA fan back then. So, but I'm still voting for them because, come on.
I'm not an NWA fan either, but I know the Rock and Roll Express. I knew who they were as kids. I mean, if you ask any pro wrestling fan who's been a fan for 30, 40 plus years.
Yeah.
They'll probably tell you that the Rock and Roll Express is one of the top 10 greatest tag teams of all time.
Right. Like,
End
everyone
discussion.
might not know who the members are, but you know who the Rock and Roll Express are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which Rock and Roll Express are we talking about this time? Can we specify? Yeah, no, it's definitely the Rock and Roll Express.
Clean sweep.
Yeah.
Clean sweep. Yeah, of course.
In arguably what will be the easiest matchup we talk about of the entire night.
Easier than Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode versus the Rock and Roll Express?
Oh, just wait. You will say I'm right. The 4 seed in the North, the current Raw Tag Team Champions, 4-time Raw Tag Champs, 4-time SmackDown Tag Champs, WWE Tag Champs, the New Day. Their opponents.
I woke up at least 3 rooms just now.
Their opponents, one singular 27-day reign as WWF World Tag Team Champions. Scotty Too Hottie and Brian Christopher Too Cool.
By the way, their original theme song's amazing. My son Eli's obsessed with that song.
I love that for him.
Is this not easier than the last one? I mean, what we're doing here.
God. I'm going too cool. I'm going too cool. Come on now.
You're an idiot.
I know. Come on now. No, it's the New Day, man. You know that.
Yeah, it's an easy one.
I was gonna say, I think that was a little bit easier than the
That
last.
was an easy one.
Too cool. It was a thing. It was a thing. Like Savio Vega.
Like, I'm not even mad that Too Cool is like in this. Like, I feel like they belong in this, but they don't belong moving past the first round. Like, I don't even know that I would have given them the nod over Ziggler and Roode. So you're kind of right.
Yeah. All right. Oh God, he's playing the fucking theme song. Where's Rikishi at when we need him? All right, final matchup of the North bracket.
Are you talking about TNA legend Junior Fatu?
Yes. Fatu. How did you know? I did it for The Rock.
I did it.
Did it for The Rock. All right, final first round matchup of the North bracket. It is the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal. They are going to take on the team, and I really love these two as a tag team together. And, I don't know why. It is the pair of Owen Hart and the British Bulldog.
Oh, they're good. Oh, this is... Okay, so I think it's clear who's going to win this one, obviously. It's got to be clear. But, God, Owen and British were really, really good.
They were a really good team.
Seriously, they were really good.
They were champions one time for 246 days. They won the titles from the Smoking Gun at In Your House 10 Mind Games. They held the titles from September of 96 all the way until May of 97. End of May, they lost the titles to the unholy tag team of Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin at a Raw is War in Evanston, Indiana.
Okay, so I'm going to make this argument, and I'm voting for the Road Warriors, obviously. But here's my argument, okay? Owen Hart and the British Bulldog felt like two singles guys put together as a team. Anytime Hawk or Animal ever kind of got a singles run, it felt like a tag team wrestler being put into singles matches. I think there's an important distinction there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So what you're saying is Owen Hart and the British Bulldog are the Adam Page and Kenny Omega of the AEW roster.
I mean, kind of.
And Matt and Nick Jackson are the Road Warriors of the AEW roster.
That's
where if they ever have a single push, you're gonna like. So they're a tag team that one of them's hurt, right?
I mean, I don't think anyone has ever compared the Road Warriors to the Young Bucks in the history of anything before ever. So I'm impressed by that because you're also just not wrong in your comparison.
Thank you. Golf claps for everybody. Thank you. Interesting stat here, though, that I wanted to discuss. They held the WWF tag titles twice.
Who?
They were the Legion of Doom.
Oh.
They were never the WCW World Tag Team Champions.
Just the NWA?
Yep. They never won the WCW World Tag Team Championships, according to CageMatch.net, obviously. I haven't sat here and deep scrub the network or anything like that.
Well, no, because like they have their NWA run, and then they pop over to WWF,
1990.
have their little run there, and they never end up as a tag team again in WCW. They both get like singles runs randomly here and there. I don't know if the other guy was just injured at the time or what, but they never, as far as I can remember, end up as a tag team again in WCW. But they do both end up in WCW at different times trying to be singles stars, and then end up back in WWF where they become a tag team again, and Sonny is their manager and yada, yada, yada. But like,
and then draws.
Right, exactly. Like it kind of makes sense actually, just because of the timing.
If you look at their page, they were the AWA World Tag Champs for 400 days.
Wow.
The IPW Tag Champs for 120. The NWA International Tag Team Champions for 456 days. The NWA National Tag Team Champions 3 times for 313 days. The World Six-Men Tag Team Champions, paired with the American Dream, baby, Dusty Rhodes, twice for 787 days. NWA World Tag Champs for 155 days, and then the WWF Tag Champs for 213 total days. So, they held titles for a long time. I just thought that with a team that is so synonymous with NWA and WCW, that they at least would have gotten one WCW World Tag title reign.
I think it's just the timing, because I think that if you look at it, I think that the NW, like, they didn't become WCW belts and everything until what, like 92?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, by that point, Legion of Doom has already jumped over to WWF, and like I was just saying, any time where they were back in WCW, inexplicably, it was always in singles runs and very short term. And then they were a team again in WWF. So, like, it really is just the timing, honestly.
I do find it interesting that they did not have a single title reign from the time they lost the WWF tag titles in 92 till they won them again in 97.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
I think it was like one of them was always hurt when the other one wasn't, or something like that. It's like something weird like that, because there really are those random times where it's like, oh, look, Hawk is fighting for the world title against Ric Flair, or like, look, Animal is fighting for the world title against Ric Flair. Like, it's just this random, like, pushes that they would get in WCW.
Yeah, after 92, when they left 93, like, between 93, 96, 97, when they came back to WF, it was kind of just weird. Like, you didn't really hear much about them, really, until they came back to
yeah.
So.
All right, so the North bracket is complete. We'll go over that at the end whenever we go through what round 2 is going to look like. We'll move to the South bracket, the 116 matchup. It's a fun one to talk about on paper, but it's not going to be a fun one because we know exactly what's going to happen. The 1 seed are the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray, Devon, the probably arguably one of the greatest tag teams ever. Yeah. Their opponents are a team that should have been so much more. And I think they would have been had one of them not gotten hurt. They're playing a play-in game winner of the team of Brian Pillman and Steve Austin, the Hollywood Blondes.
Oh.
This is fun.
I feel like the Hollywood Blondes would have been so much more had he not gotten hurt.
Did you randomize this thing? Did you randomize the order?
No, I said what I did. You weren't listening 3 episodes ago. I think
it's what happened when I woke up, I think.
No, I wrote out the bracket where one of us would face the other, where you would never have your own team face each other in the first round.
Right.
So this was a play-in game winner. I believe it was my play-in game nominee versus I think I had the Dudleys, but that was just because the play-in game randomizer was whoever had the most votes got the top, and whoever got the second got the bottom.
Right.
So, yeah.
But okay.
Obviously, it's the Dudley Boys.
Right.
There's
no realistic way to vote against the Dudley Boys here.
I mean,
at least not here.
Arguably a top 5 team all time. Arguably.
Yeah, you can't vote against them here. I mean, obviously, the what if of Austin and Pillman is so enticing to talk about. But
no,
that's the thing. Like, they're almost like, it's almost like legend, right? Like they were such a great match and a great mix of two extremely talented guys that I sort of feel like we all remember this, like them having this great run and all that, when in reality, what were they a team for, like 6 months? Because of the injuries and stuff. Like
That's
officially
short?
branded as the Hollywood Blondes, it wasn't a very long time.
Was that short?
It was pretty short.
I know it was like a year or two, but I think it was 6 months. Wow.
I'll look it up real quick.
I could be wrong.
I'll look it up. Hold on. Just you guys keep talking.
But at the end of the day, like if we were voting on potential, then maybe they get through here. But you can't take potential versus literally one of the most decorated tag teams of all time.
By the way, 1992 WCW roster, I put it against WWF's 92 roster also. If not,
So their first tag match as a team was on a TV show in Columbus on September 29th of 92. They were rebranded the Hollywood Blondes on January 5th of 1993. Mm-hmm. Their final tag match as a team in WCW was November 4th of 93. They lost a house show match to Ric Flair and the British Bulldog.
So technically 14 months as a team. The rebrand gives you less than a year.
Mm-hmm.
Short.
Their last tag match together was on paper or on television was a Saturday night show against Frankie Lancaster and Mark Starr. Little known fact here, and this is going to be a fun one. They won a NWA WCW Unified World Tag Title match between them and the Cole Twins.
Who?
Keith and Kent Cole.
Any relation to Adam Cole? Is he their baby?
Nah, I just thought it was cool.
Oh, Garrett Cole, the Yankees.
Ew.
Ew, Yankees.
All I'm saying though is I do think it's interesting because I do feel like sometimes wrestling fans have memories that are total like Mandela effect kind of memories.
Of course.
Like we all, like I swear to you, we all have some memories of the Hollywood Blondes being this incredible, successful tag team, and then you look at the stats and it's like, oh, they weren't around that long even. Like we said this about Demolition a few weeks ago too. Like feels like they were an act for like 10 years. They were an act for about 2.5. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of an interesting phenomenon in and of itself, but obviously at Dudley Boys.
Right.
Yeah. All right, this one should be fun. Joe's going to like talking about this one.
Okay.
The 8-9 matchup in the South region. The 8 seed, the Gangsters.
Ooh.
New Jack, Mustafa. Their opponents, the 9 seed, the Brainbusters of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
This is going to be fun.
That is a Styles clash right there.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, the Gangstas were 2-time ECW World Tag Team Champions, and they were SMW Tag Champions once. Their opponent, the Brainbusters, were 2-time NWA World Tag Team Champions as part of the Four Horsemen, and they were WWF Tag Team Champions for 76 days.
One time. Beat Demolition, by the way.
Okay.
They beat Demolition, dominant Demolition.
Okay. Hear me out here. I'm aware of the fact that Arn and Tully are arguably one of the greatest tag teams of all time. You look at them, you look at their body of work. Obviously, they were part of the greatest faction of all time with the Horsemen. They were a central part of that. They're the reason why teams like the Revival exist today. They're the reason why tag team wrestling is as successful as it is. Again, they're another one of those teams that I feel like people remember having been around and been more successful a lot longer. But like, look, like the Brainbusters, their WWF career is like a cup of coffee. You know, they weren't around that long there. And everything they did in the NWA was prior to that because Tully never went back. So there was no Brainbusters after that, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you this. For my money, the Gangsters are one of the most entertaining acts in the history of pro wrestling because they were uniquely themselves. They came out. Their music played for like 10 minutes through like half the fucking match. They brought out
The whole
every
match.
weapon known to man, sometimes literally a kitchen sink. New Jack was guaranteed to hit you with a ukulele, play a couple of bars, hit you with it again. Like, they were going to do the craziest shit. You might get shanked. It depended on what day of the week it was. There were no guarantees that you wouldn't end up in the hospital if you were wrestling the New Jack and the Gangsters that night. I loved their act. I loved everything about their presentation. I'm voting for them. I ain't going to be mad if you guys don't, but you're wrong if you don't. I mean, so just like, and New Jack knows where you live.
Mike, where are you going?
Yeah, Mike, where are you going?
My big thing here, and Joe knows I have a very fond place in my heart for New Jack and Mustafa as a tag team. But the end of them as a tag team is something that has always been what the fuck happened? Like,
Did Mustafa go to jail or New Jack went to jail? One of them went to jail.
It was Mustafa who disappeared because New Jack ended up losing the tag titles with John Cronus when they were the Gangstanators.
Right, because Saturn jumped to WCW.
Correct. So, like, the thing that I always like.
I know. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can I just say though, since now you brought it up, I don't think there's a more perfect ending to the Gangsters than one of them going to prison and that being the end of their tag team.
I just want to see
for the course.
I actually want to see if he went to prison or if he just like wanted more money. Like, that's more or less what I want to see.
I mean, everybody wanted more money from Paul Heyman. That's true. That's the thing.
I just because it was so weird. It was like they won the tag titles and then he was like, "All right, I'm out." I'm like, "What? What are we doing?" No. The team split in '97 when Mustafa left ECW. He just straight up left ECW.
When did they start? What year?
They were around from like, because they were in Smoky Mountain Wrestling before that also. So they were around from like 93, 94.
94.
Okay.
They were a team from 94 to basically 97. And then he went on to basically leave. And that's when New Jack became like really fun to watch wrestle because that's when he started hitting the guitar, the
yeah.
Bow, guitar to the face.
But I mean, like, just the whole act, like the music playing through 3/4 of their match was everything to me. Like, honestly, that wouldn't work if WWE ever tried to do it in like a big arena or something. But do it on NXT. Like, give me fucking like in Full Sail when fans are back again or whatever. If they continue doing it where they're doing it now, whatever. But give me like fucking somebody. Like, none of the acts there right now work. The Street Profits would have worked for this at the time. Or like, I mean, there's just not any tag teams right now that are very inspiring out there in NXT. But like, I just feel like that it's an act that just is so much energy and so much fun, and that's what wrestling is at the end of the day. Like, yeah, like I love it if you can convince me that an arm drag or a headlock actually looks painful, and like I'm into that. Daniel Bryan's my second favorite wrestler of all time. Like, totally agree. But wrestling's got to be fun. And New Jack and Mustafa, they made it fun, or else.
I kind of want to vote for them now, too.
I mean, you should.
You're making a case for it. You got Brainbusters, right, Mike?
I haven't really.
Because, let me ask you a question. Outside the 1 year run with Vince in 88, 89, I know they're part of Horsemen, obviously, but did they do other things as a team, like exclusively Tully and Arn?
I mean, they had stuff as the Horsemen in NWA, and then I think Tully basically fell off the face of the earth after he left WWE because he had already burned his bridge in WCW. They weren't bringing him back after the way that ended.
Because right now you're making a case for me to pick the Gangsters.
I mean, like I said, I think if you look, you can make this, you can vote however you want. Obviously, we all bring our own decisions to this. Tully and Arn are an incredible tag team. If you're looking at just quality wrestling, yada yada yada, they're incredible. They're one of the standard bearers, no doubt. But I do think they're remembered as being a lot more successful than they actually were. I think that they're remembered as being a bigger deal than they actually were. And at the end of the day, New Jack will fuck you up. So, like, I just think that deserves some consideration.
Obviously, no, Brain Busters 1 year, the one title reign to beat Demolition on Sunday's main event in July. There'll be some stats on Gangstar's tag team titles and whatnot.
New Jack has also had sex with Terry Runnels.
That's right. Okay, that's it. The answers is for me. I made it easy for Mike. I made it easy.
You didn't make it easy for me. I mean, they were the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Champions for 71 days, and they were the ECW Tag Champions for 139 days.
Because Brave Busters were only tag title champions for, like, what? I think 50, 60-something days. One in July, lost in November or October.
76 days.
There we go. So, Gangsters it is.
I'm looking at their title offenses. There's a bunch of them that seem entertaining. They had a match at the Doctor's Inn where they won the titles. They defeated the Bruiser Brothers, Don and Ron Harris, the Eliminators, and the Samoan Gangsta Party to win the belts. They defeated the Eliminators at Natural Born Killers in a steel cage weapons match.
That match is great.
Before losing them back to the Eliminators at Hardcore TV 193. I really feel like there's like another cage match that they were in. I don't know. I gotta find it. I'll see if I can find it. All right.
I know the sex with Terry Reynolds was the equalizer for me.
I mean, I think I was gonna end up voting for the Gangsters anyways if you didn't. Right. But the fact that your vote was swung
I feel like this was a win for me.
Marlena back in the day was fine as hell, though.
Yeah, he didn't have sex with Marlena, Terry Reynolds. He had sex with, like, hey, I'm on a 36-day bender. I need more crack money.
What year? What's this, though? What year?
Definitely like mid-2000s.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, Joe just sold you on, like, a 1996 Wet Dream.
Bruh.
And then he sold you.
First of all, don't act like you wouldn't still hit it, okay? Like,
No.
I'm not even talking to you. I'm talking to Ernest.
I was going to say, please be talking to him.
I haven't seen it lately. I gotta see it real quick. Mike, go to the next one in the meantime, and I'll look it up in the meantime until I hit it or not.
Just get a penicillin shot. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Preparation H does feel good on the whole. All right. 7-10 matchup. This one should be fun to talk about. I don't know that it's going to be that fun to vote on. The 7th seed are the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. Their opponents, the tag team of John Morrison and The Miz.
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's what she said.
The Rockers have no tag team titles. They won one.
You said it before I could. God damn it, fucker.
They won it and then they pulled it. Remember?
No, it never happened.
No, that film doesn't exist somewhere randomly in the vault that WWE could put up if they really wanted to.
Yep.
If they wanted to.
All right, John Morrison and The Miz. Let's bring up some stats on The Miz and Morrison.
Don't ask me. I'm gay.
Wow.
Boy.
The Miz is 40.
He looks good.
He looks great.
Still one of the hottest wrestlers. I would.
Oh Lord.
John Morrison and The Miz were a tag team from 2007 to 2009, and then they rejoined together in WWE in 2020 when Morrison returned after his sabbatical, aka where he became Johnny. Insert random company's name here. Lucha Underground, Impact, Friday Night Delight, or some bullshit, whatever the fuck else he called himself.
He also did a season of Survivor.
Let me tell you something though, Ben. They're a combo.
Johnny did make it to the final vote. You know, just keeping the names together.
God. I would say the Rockers are a better tag team technically, but I will say the chemistry with Miz and Morrison, not just in the ring but out the ring, is it's pretty decent, man. I like it.
We have Johnny Nitro, Johnny Blaze, Johnny Spade, Johnny Superstar, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Blackcraft, Johnny Impact, Johnny Onyx, Johnny Religion, Johnny Friday Night Delight, Johnny Capri Sun, Johnny fucking Jimmy Johns. I mean, whatever.
Is this a thing for real? Is this really a thing?
Well,
Wow.
the last 4 probably weren't, but I mean, we should more. He has more nicknames that have more title reigns than the Rockers did as a tag
He's
team.
relevant.
I mean, but here's the thing, right? And again, like just like I was saying in the last one, like if you're voting based on tag team quality, the Rockers get a pretty big edge here because quality speaking, like look, at the end of the day, the Rockers were just a Rock and Roll Express ripoff. You know, the Rockers like as much as yes.
They were the dollar store honey buns.
Yes.
Of the Rockers.
Yes, they were
the
like,
Rock and Roll Express.
Mom, can we get Rock and Roll Express? No, sweetie, we have Rock and Roll Express at home, and it's Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. Like that's who they were. And that's the funny thing is, like, I feel like sometimes people will be like, oh, the Young Bucks wouldn't exist without the Rockers. And I'm like, no, the Young Bucks wouldn't exist without the Rock and Roll Express. But
Yes.
I get how that you
Tassels.
can compare them to the Rockers because the Rockers were such a quality tag team. And, of course, look, Shawn Michaels went on to be literally the greatest wrestler of all time as far as I'm concerned. And Marty Jannetty went on to possibly have sex with his daughter. So, I mean, like, if we're looking at it even from that perspective, like, I don't know who you vote for. It becomes kind of a rough one.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna go because of sexual relations with a woman, I mean, The Miz is married to Maurice. I mean, if we're gonna go daughter versus Maurice, I think we have to lean towards Maurice.
I'm so incredibly gay. I've watched every season of RuPaul Drag Race multiple times. I would hit it with Maurice. Like, she hot. Like, so I'm just putting that out there. Like, if that is what we're basing our votes on now in this godforsaken tournament, whose wife is hotter? Isn't Johnny Nitro's wife? Why am I calling him Johnny Nitro? Isn't John Morrison's wife also attractive to straight men?
She's kind of attractive.
I'm assuming there are also women that would find her attractive.
Oh yeah. Probably.
Oh my God, can I say something that I hope isn't offensive? You know what I think is a great business idea?
Uh-oh.
Secret lesbian bars in the back of like Lowe's and Home Depot. Like speakeasies, like lesbian speakeasies, but in hardware stores. I think that this is going to take off. We all just have to invest.
Good God.
Is that like knocking on someone's door and like, can I talk to you about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? I mean, are we really going like?
I mean, sort of.
Would you like to invest in my lesbian speakeasy inside this Home Depot?
Yes.
So this is actually harder than I realized.
This is
That's
derailed.
what she said.
She did say that.
This is derailed very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I feel dirty voting against the Rockers. So I'm not going to. I'm going to vote for the Rockers. But it's a hard one.
The Rockers were AWA World Tag Team Champions twice for a total of 201 days. Morrison and The Miz, World Tag Team Champions for 113 days. SmackDown Tag Team Champions early last year for 50 days. And were WWE Tag Team Champions when they first became a team in 2007 to 2008 for 250 days.
You know, one thing I will give the Rockers a legit edge on, and this might only be because Marty Jannetty has turned into complete and utter fucking, like, trash boat on fire going down the river with no captain to stop it.
I'm the captain of the ship now.
Right. They've never reunited. Like their legacy has never been tarnished by a mediocre second run, Miz and Morrison. So I'm just saying, like, I think that adds to it. Like, and it might only be because Marty Jannetty wasn't allowed out of the state of California. But we never got like hey, let's have another run with the Rockers in the mid-2000s because we don't know what else to do and nostalgia. You know, so they never ruined their legacy.
I also think it didn't help that, you know, Shawn probably really didn't want anything to do with Marty.
Right.
Yeah. I'll go Rockers here too on a technicality, but this is much closer than people give credit for.
It is. This was hard. I almost said Miz and Morrison.
I almost pulled the trigger on Miz and Morrison too because I love because again the chemistry, out the ring too. I mean, God. But again, The other team has Shawn Michaels though. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Just saying.
All right. So I was gonna vote for the Rockers as well. They actually have had arguably about the same amount of tag team career. They both were teams for about 4.5-ish years. So I was probably going to end up going with them anyways. So, I mean, it works. Hold on. I'm trying to find.
So clean sweep.
Yeah, clean sweep there. Finally, last but certainly not least, the 215 matchup. The 2 seed, Jimmy and Jay, the Usos, their opponents, Warlord and Barbarian, the Powers of Pain.
This is easy, obviously. But I'm sure we've discussed this in the podcast before about booking and was it a team that could have worked if used correctly. I don't know. They're kind of one of my personal what ifs, the Powers of Pain. You know what I mean? I don't know. They started out as the baby faces. Then they turned heel at Survivor Series 88 when Mr. Fuji turned on Demolition. I don't know.
Wait.
I kind of like them in the ring. Okay. It's one of those things where I don't know.
Wait. The Powers of Pain, that was Barbarian and the Warlord.
And
right?
Warlord, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, 2 facts right off the bat for why
Okay.
they're not going to win this vote. Okay.
Oh, of course not.
Number one, the best thing that the Warlord ever did in his entire wrestling career was feud with the British Bulldog, and that was as a single star. Okay? Let's be clear. I remember those matches. The only thing that Warlord ever did that was worthwhile. Number two, the only tag team that would actually be worthy of this conversation involving the Barbarian also has Ming on it. So since they're not in this conversation, this is a fairly easy one in my opinion. This is not the Warlord and the Barbarian.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying it's easy as hell. It's Usos with a bullet. I'm just saying.
Damn right,
We're not going to talk about these guys again. I just want to talk about the what if thing with it.
Can we talk about them real quick though? Can we talk about the Powers of Pain? Powers of Pain.
Mm.
You know when the last time they had a tag match together?
1989.
Wrong.
Was it in Chikara?
Recently?
They were part of a Ball for a Ball match at Talkin' Shop Mania 2 that was put on by Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows.
Oh, shit.
They are part of the Cock Torture World Order, which included Fake Sting, Mr. Hughes, the Barbarian, the Karate Man, the Warlord, and Virgil. They defeated Chad Too Bad and Sex Ferguson. Now,
which year is it?
About 2020.
Holy fuck.
Joe, listen to this real quick. 2019. They had a tag match in ICW, the Return of the Concrete Jungle. You want to know who their opponents were?
Who?
Matt Tremont and Nick fucking Gage.
Wow. Okay.
They had a 12-minute and 50-second match that went to a no contest with Nick fucking Gage.
Can we find this on YouTube somewhere?
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
And Joe, what you're thinking of, yes, they were part of the tag team gauntlet that we went to at King of Trios 2012.
Yeah.
They were part of the tag team gauntlet that was won by 1-2-3 Kid and Marty Jannetty.
Yeah, wasn't Demolition also in that?
Are you serious?
Okay, this was the teams that were involved in that gauntlet match, and then we can go over the bracket for round 2. It was won by 1-2-3 Kid and Marty Jannetty. Other teams involved: Demolition of Axe and Smash.
No Crush, obviously.
You know, for the record, I totally smoked weed with X-Pac that week.
Yeah, you told me that one. Art
like right outside the show. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Art Garfunkel and Paul Simon.
Hmm.
Jacob Hammermere and Tim Donst, who Ernest will have no idea who that is. Johnny Miyagi and Ralph Macchio Jr. See, Chikara likes to do this. Simon and Garfunkel, Karate Kid reference. They
Cobra Kai fans probably.
They defeated Night Eye for the Pirate Guy, which was Jolly Roger and Lance Steele. Arguably the greatest tag team in Chikara history. I don't care who you talk to. El Hijo del Ice Cream Jr., Los Ice Creams. The Colony of Fire Ant and Green Ant. You may know them as other people, Joe. Ernest doesn't because he lives.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah.
For legal reasons, we can't talk about it. Ernest will text you.
Okay.
The Devastation Corporation of Max Smashmaster and Blaster McMassive, and finally the Powers of Pain of the Barbarian and Warlord. That may have been one of the funnest tag team gauntlets that I was ever a fan of.
Interesting.
Joe, you remember that show? We went to that show.
Yeah, no, that was a fun one.
We marked out. All right, North Bracket, round 2. Harlem Heat versus the Rock and Roll Express.
Ooh.
The New Day versus the Legion of Doom.
Ooh.
The Steiner Brothers versus the Bludgeon Brothers. And finally, RVD and Sabu against the Outsiders.
Okay.
The South Bracket second round matchups. We're going to have the Dudley Boys against the Gangstas. ECW versus ECW. Let's get hardcore.
Wow.
Paul London and Brian Kendrick versus the Nasty Boys. Demolition against the Eliminators. And finally, the Rockers versus the Usos.
Which we'll get to this bracket in 2 weeks, probably.
No, it'll probably be 3 weeks if you think about it.
Right.
Next week will be the preview. Next week will be the
Jeopardy.
WrestleMania Jeopardy and the watch along. And then the following week will be the preview show. So it probably won't get picked back up until after WrestleMania.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to get through the first round at least
Right.
so that we can have a
I agree.
fresh balance going into the third week of April.
I think the WrestleMania week should be a single topic. Just preview the cards.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And that'll be,
Wait, is it my turn? Is it my turn to do my thing?
It's your segment, buddy.
It is time for Joe Lopez's segment.
All right. So this week on, I love that for you. I am going to be giving my love to none other than Asuka. Because Asuka, who seemingly was ready to be sitting and catering during WrestleMania both nights, has somehow worked her way into being in what, in my opinion, on paper is one of the more exciting matches on the WrestleMania card announced so far. I'm very excited that we're going to be sitting there live, marking out under our face masks because we're good people, as Asuka gets to possibly get a win on WrestleMania. And if she loses, that's not the end of the world either. But that's still pretty amazing considering that she was slated to lose the title to someone who got knocked up 2 months ago, and then was likely to lose the title to someone whose boyfriend decided that he didn't want a job there anymore, and they figured out a way to get rid of her off TV for a hot second. So all of a sudden, Asuka is like
I think she said she's got COVID, by the way. I don't want you to...
Yeah.
She has COVID?
Yeah, she has COVID.
Charlotte came out on Twitter and said she had COVID.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did not know that. Well, that sucks. Poor Charlotte. I don't love that for you, Charlotte. But Asuka, your sudden success, I love that for you.
Alrighty. MVPs. I guess I'll go first this week. My MVP is actually going to be Renee Paquette. I've been enjoying her podcast on Colin Coward's new network, The Volume. She does nice interviews with many people in wrestling and whatever. I went through a little string of episodes the last couple of days. She interviewed Britt Baker recently. She interviewed Paul White, Christian Cage, all that. She's really great. She's really great at this. Fucking really good at the fucking media. So obviously she was amazing in WWE, but she's just to see her outside WWE now too, also doing this. She's really incredible. So Renee Paquette's my MVP this week.
Joseph,
you go first.
I have like 2.5 MVPs.
Who's the half?
Well, it's because
it's got to be Hornswoggle.
I was going to say that too. I was going to say that.
No, it's really because of more or less. All right, we'll get there. First MVP. He got his release on Sunday. My MVP for this week is Andrade. What?
Your shirt last week, so you blame.
I did. That's fine. I'll take that blame. But I don't want him to end up in AEW because I'm over them fucking signing people and not using them. Go to fucking New Japan, go to CMLL, go fucking pretty much anywhere that isn't fucking AEW right now. Go be in Ring of Honor with the rest of Los. I don't want to be involved in Oblace de Hippo.
I actually have breaking news, but I do hear the earpiece, right? I do hear that AEW is going to be signing Andrade to be the color commentator and sometimes in-ring performer for their new Spanish series, El Hijo de Dark.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Every Thursday for 3.5 hours on YouTube.
25 matches.
Yeah, my
Yes.
my 1.5 MVP actually goes to an entire company, and it's to Ring of Honor. The 19th anniversary show is this weekend. Pretty fun card built up with Jay Lethal versus Roosh for the world title. Jonathan Gresham taking on Dax Draper in the Pure Wrestling title match. Hot Sauce fighting for the World Television title. I look at it from this standpoint. This is an opportunity for Ring of Honor to do something that I think they really should, and that's rebuild the foundation of the company by putting as many titles as you can on the foundation. Let Jay Lethal win the world title. You know what you get out of Jay. You know what you get out of Gresham. Hot Sauce has been really good since he signed in Ring of Honor.
But he's not green anymore?
No, he's not green anymore. He's gotten a lot better. So yeah, I'm gonna go the entire Ring of Honor roster for getting to year number 19. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit because we'll have John and Tom and Jim on next week's show.
Yeah, and that's an accomplishment too. We just discussed WCW earlier on the podcast, and they ended after 13 years as a company.
Yeah.
And ROH still going strong, really.
Yeah. So my MVP this week is whoever proofread Earnest's shirt, because they are the real MVP.
Cool.
I love it. I love that for you.
I love that for you, buddy. Anyway, Joe out of a hotel in New York City. Mike somewhere in Boynton Beach, Florida.
Yep.
Me in, Lake Worth, I guess.
I'm gonna tell you guys right now. Get your WrestleMania trivia on because it's gonna get real deep real quick.
Are we doing all 1 through 36?
Everything's in play.
Okay, good.
I will give you the spoiler for the first topic.
Okay.
Video killed the Mania star.
Oh,
That's where I'll leave it.
I like that.
That's where I'll leave it.
Dropping bombs. So next couple of shows
figure it out from there.
So look, here's the deal. Next couple of shows going to be kind of like normal. We're going to have next week and have our guests, our first ever guest on this podcast. Well, actually, second ever guest on our podcast.
I was going to say like our 14th guest. I mean, we've had Carol drop in. We've had
Craig.
But
Jackson,
the important
Logan.
thing that everyone knows is, no matter what, I will always have I love that for you.
Yes, no matter what, that'll be part of the show.
That's part of the show.
It's important. That's what they're all here for.
Next couple weeks will be kind of odd.
MVPs will be here as well because we'll probably get Jim and Jim and them to throw in some
looking
MVPs.
For next week. Looking for next week's WrestleMania Jeopardy. So for Mike, for Joe, I'm Ernest Christian. See you guys next week, buddy. Later.
Later.
Later.